And that's when I said to you specifically, hold on, let me think of a non-sequitur. Oh, hello there. I didn't see you walk in.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us once again for this, the 128th episode of the Drunk Doctor Who podcast, wherein we discuss the 128th
story of Doctor Who, Enlightenment.
Enlightenment.
I'm Hatter, this is Holden. What are we drinking today?
What are we drinking today? I'm having a natural lime white claw. That's the law of the claw, bro.
Oh. And I'm drinking Russian standard vodka.
Hey.
He has to drive home, I don't.
Not bourbon? Yeah. It's also because I'm fat. Made a healthier show. I went from like beers, which is like liquid bread, to more of a seltzer. Because look at no carbs.
But 3 carbs.
Oh, 2 carbs. 2 grams of carbs.
I know, I've started drinking a couple of those myself, and I've got one in the fridge.
Oh, yeah? You like the White Claws?
It's
the
seltzer? Alright. Anyway, and I forgot to refresh my drink, so sometime in the podcast we're going to get some more Russian standard.
See, this is why we're always over 40 minutes. You get me off topic.
Yeah, right. Alright, the story's called Enlightenment, 4 episodes. It aired from March 1st of 1983 to March 9th of 1983. That Monday, Tuesday combo that they are doing at this point. Today is August 14th of 2023. Okay. Pretty straightforward serial. It's kind of twisty and kind of turny, but overall, not a whole lot actually takes place.
Alright, yeah, a whole lot of suspense and a little bit of plot over the 4 episodes.
Okay, so the Doctor, Tegan, and Turlough Turlough's playing chess with Tegan in the TARDIS control room. The Doctor and Tegan are also trying to figure out what's going on with the TARDIS because they're messing with the console unit because a lot of energy is draining out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Turlough's more interested in the chessboard, and Tegan's more interested in helping the Doctor fix the console so they can actually leave.
Yeah, Turlough's not particularly worried about helping because he's still under contract to try to kill the Doctor by the Black Guardian.
So all of a sudden they get some turbulence. It throws the chessboard onto the floor, and there's a certain word that Turlough says that triggers the Doctor hearing someone else saying that. What word was
Turn. Your turn.
Your turn.
And so the Doctor hears turn, and power. The Doctor figures out somebody's trying to tell him to turn up the power.
Mm-hmm. But who?
So he goes, okay, this is what's going on. And, he figures it's the White Guardian.
Yeah, not Colonel Sanders this time.
No, the actual
White Guardian.
So he gets Turlough and Tegan to help him, ramp up the power. He tells them to keep it on no matter what, because the power drain is going to the White Guardian. The White Guardian needs the power to get through to talk to the Doctor. The Doctor runs into a particular corridor.
Why is that?
Why is what?
That the White Guardian needs the power of the TARDIS to be able to communicate with the Doctor? Because the Black Guardian hasn't. He's been able to kind of just communicate freely.
Okay.
You would think that one of the 2 all-powerful beings in the known galaxy would be able to just kind of...
Remember later on, the Black Guardian says the White Guardian's power is waning.
Does that come back with the 3rd encounter that we haven't had yet?
Alright. Oh, we'll say that question for later.
Okay.
But anyway, apparently the White Guardian's power is waning, which is why he needs energy from the Doctor to talk to the Doctor. Mm-hmm. And later on, the Black and White Guardian get together, and the White Guardian's like, you can't destroy us. And the Black Guardian's like, I will have others do that for me. Your power is waning, and I will have others restore it for me.
And then the Black Guardian says, now I am master, and they pull out their lightsabers and go,
what? Oh, hold on. I forgot the DVD.
And the White Guardian.
I forgot the DVD.
The White Guardian says,
ignore that.
If you strike me down now, I'll be more powerful than I've ever been before. And we have the cool Obi-Wan Darth Vader duel, but that's in episode 4. So let's get back to episode 1. So the Doctor maxes out the power output for the TARDIS so he can help the White Guardian do his boopity boop boop telegram thing. However, because they're working on the center console of the TARDIS, the control console, it's not really currently capable of putting out a high power output. So while the Doctor is in this other room, he turns the power all the way up, and Tegan's like, "It's gonna explode," and he's like, I need to talk to somebody. And he walks out of the room into the hallway, and Turlo walks up to Tegan, and he's like, the Doctor's just talking to himself. Because the Doctor's standing in the hallway of the TARDIS going, "Power! What power? I've given you more power. What are you trying to tell me?" And then the White Guardian kind of fizzles into shape. And the White Guardian says, I forget what he says, but the Black Guardian shows up, and then they have a little pissing match, and then the Black Guardian kind of pushes the White Guardian away, and they all fade away, and the Doctor runs back into the control room, and he goes, "What happened?" And it turns out Turlo turned off the power because he thought it was about to overload and explode and kill everybody. And the Doctor's very upset about Turlo saving all of their lives.
And he's like, "Never disobey me again."
He wanted the console to blow up so he could talk to him. So, on that note, he did get the coordinates that the White Guardian was trying to tell him. Well, at least most of them, right?
Was it 09775 or something?
North something.
Something, yeah.
He gives them some coordinates, he punches them in, and they... He looks at the console screen and it's black, so he goes, I need to grab some torches, because apparently the TARDIS doesn't have a night vision or a flashlight on the external...
Well, apparently, if you're only going to look out that way, then maybe. But it was actually seemed to be going directly towards the wall, which was black. So, because remember, it's on the opposite side of the door, and the door was going out that way.
Could they dematerialize? Travel this way through space and rematerialize?
Then the door would be facing the wall, and that wouldn't help them.
Well, about half and half, like that.
Once again, they were in a corner. One direction you're going to have a wall, either at the door or at the camera.
So you're saying there's the door here, and on the back of the TARDIS is literally like a camera for that?
I don't know if it's the back of the TARDIS or not, but that's what the screen is.
Oh. It's just facing...
I'm just giving a good reason why that was the way it was.
I would just like to know how that viewing port functions. Since it's just CRTV based.
Well, remember the first Doctor had that circular thing that would show them stuff that was happening elsewhere or in the future. Like
you pulled out the little bar table and it has that orb on it, right?
Yeah, it had this weird orb, and they looked at it, and
he goes, "Don't worry, guys, top of the line technology. This is a crankshaft."
Never shows up again. At least not yet.
I guess they built it into the TARDIS now.
So they go out with torches, flashlights. And they're looking around, and he tells...
disappointed they didn't literally like torches.
No, that's what they call torches. That's what they call flashlights.
He
torches.
tells Tegan to stay on the TARDIS in case the White Guardian
shows up and has a message.
The rest of the message.
And the White Guardian shows up. It's a good thing he told her to, but then she leaves the TARDIS.
She's drawn out by circumstances. So, meanwhile, Turlo and the Doctor are outside rummaging around with flashlights. They find some barrels. They're tied down, and he picks up the rope and he goes, "Turlo, what do you see?" And Turlo says,
"A rope."
"Well, it's a rope, obviously." And then he goes, "No, are you sure it's a rope?" And then Turlo goes, "Well, there's tar on the rope." And the Doctor goes, "Exactly, we're on a ship." And Turlo goes, "Okay."
At first, Turlo thought they were in a house because the floor was wood. And then he goes, "The ground's moving," because the ship was rocking. Yeah. And he goes, "No, we're on a ship." So they end up going upstairs, or out of the hold.
Ask why the Doctor brought the tar on the rope to the attention of Turlo so that he could reach the conclusion that they're on a ship?
Because they use tar a lot on a ship to seal things, and the rope and other things would, get coated in tar.
He couldn't just say, "Look, these barrels are tied down. We're on a boat," instead of saying, "Look at this tar on this rope. That explains we're on a ship."
He's trying to lead him to draw his own conclusion.
But why would tar on a rope leads you to the conclusion you're on a ship
Because
rather than the rocking and it's tied down barrels.
Well, those tied down chests.
Chests.
There were chests that said striker.
Yeah, they're tied down.
They were tied down, but you could have something tied down just as a preventive measure against thievery. The main thing...
Tar important.
The tar was, because once again, you use tar to seal the boards, and so tar got on a lot of stuff on a ship.
And Turlo's an alien?
Yes, Turlo was stranded on Earth, living as a teenage or a boy going to school on Earth. But yeah, he's from another world. He's an alien the same way Nyssa was.
And because he was stranded on Earth as a school person, that means he would know that tar on a rope means that they're on a boat.
First of all, he's very smart and very knowledgeable. Second of all, we have no earthly idea how long he was stuck living on Earth.
He's very knowledgeable, but the ground tipping and swaying and the tied down chest.
He made an assumption earlier and his mind did not open up to other possibilities, so it was shown to him.
I just thought it was a weird dialogue choice to write into the show where he goes, this rope has tar on it, what does that tell you? Oh, a boat, obviously.
Okay, so they figure out, they go upstairs and they go to the crew's quarters. And there's about a dozen men in there. And the doctor and Turlo act as if they just joined the crew. Turlo doesn't want to be there. Turlo's scared of the Black Guardian. Turlo's scared of his shadow. Turlo's scared of everything. He wants to leave. Doctor's like, no. The White Guardian sent me here for a reason. We have to figure out what it is. We have to figure out what we can stop. And eventually, one of the men comes up and they assess the Doctor and Turlo. And he goes, you know, who are you? And he says, oh, well, this is Turlo and I'm the Doctor. And he's so happy to hear the word the Doctor. He goes, oh, right, we've been living on hardtack and salt this whole time. And apparently...
You've been expecting me?
Yeah.
We've been waiting for you.
Yeah.
And they start talking about the hardtack biscuits.
And now you're going to make better meals for us than the swill the last one had. And the Doctor's like, oh, apparently, Doctor...
A ship's doctor.
A ship's doctor, what they called doctor back then, was the cook. He may have doubled basically as a doctor, but apparently his main thing was a cook. And so they're expecting the Doctor to cook their meals for him.
Do you know why they... what do they call that ship? The
Edwardian racing yacht.
Edwardian racing.
Yeah. There was a...
Do you know why around that period, or post that period, or pre that period, they started calling ships cooks doctors?
No.
I'm not entirely sure, but I think it was they finally associated scurvy to a lack of vitamin C. So ship cooks started carrying, vitamin C and oranges and putting that in the meal.
Limes.
Limes.
Which is why the British or the English are sometimes called limeys.
Yeah, and I think that's why they started calling the cooks doctors.
That's actually a really good assumption. I don't know if it's the case. We can check on it later, but that's a really good assumption.
I just thought I heard that somewhere.
Okay. Well, in that
but
case,
I could be making it up.
Okay, so anyway, they size him up, and then...
the Doctor makes that realization, right? And then we flash back to Tegan on the TARDIS because the White Guardian does come back, and she turns the power all the way up, just like the Doctor did.
Yep.
And the White Guardian is telling her, you must give the Doctor the message. And she goes, yes, get it out. And he goes, winner takes all.
Right. Can't allow to win. Winner takes all.
Winner takes all. And then the console explodes, and he fades out. And at that point, Tegan runs back into the control room to see the exploded console, and she sees...
Well, she was in the control room, the exploded console.
Oh, right.
Control.
I was still thinking of the hallway that the Doctor was in.
And there's these hands on the scanner of the TARDIS.
And then a face.
And then a face. And it's just this very good-looking English guy.
He's all right looking. But then
blonde hair. He looks about 35.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a really good looker, and he was tall.
He lets out this... It could either be a yell of surprise or of agony, but he goes, and then he falls... or is.
But he's looking directly, basically, into the TARDIS through the scanner. It's like, what the hell?
So Tegan thinks, oh, he fell or he was attacked. I better go assist. And she grabs her own torchy flashlight, and she's walking around the TARDIS. She walks
Looking
the
for
entire TARDIS, and she doesn't see him anywhere. And then there's this weird Scooby-Doo scene where
okay, the hold is dark. It stays dark the entire serial. Anybody's walking around and they've got a torch, a flashlight, and a lot of Scooby-Doo antics happen in the hold. So she's looking around.
He surprises her.
Right.
She hits him with the flashlight.
Like, where are you? Where are you?
And then she's hiding and he's calling for her.
Yeah, and she hits him with the flashlight, knocks him out, and then she bumps into who she thinks is him again, but it's not.
It's a different person in the same sort of, what do you call those suits? Like a captain's crew suit, not like a sailor suit, but like the stripes.
The officers.
Yeah, an officer suit.
And there's the officer, and then she runs up the stairs and she bumps into him, and he's like, I mean you no harm. In fact, I want to please you. And we all say giggity.
Really unsettling, yeah.
Yeah, really unsettling. He's a little creepy the entire thing, but he's earnest and he means well, but it still comes off a bit creepy.
It comes across as very youthful,
exuberance?
Youthful unintelligence, which is weird coming from an adult, because he's kind of speaking in a way that would be really creepy for an adult, but you get the sense that he's genuinely saying those things because he doesn't really understand humans or social norms.
And we find out later they're not human.
Mm-hmm.
So they're on this nice, beautiful wooden warning ship, racing yacht. And he takes her, and he's going to take her to meet her friends. In the meantime, a different guy comes to get the doctor, a different officer from the crow's nest. And he gets the doctor and takes the doctor off.
Yeah.
And then there's a call for all the sailors to go.
Turlo stays in the sailor's cabin.
Right, the guy's like,
he goes,
no,
not you.
You're staying.
He goes, doctor, not you. So he's hanging out there. He's trying to get caught up on what they know, which is nothing. They don't remember boarding the ship.
Yeah.
They don't really remember.
They remember signing up and getting a month's pay in advance, but they do not remember ever boarding the ship.
They don't remember.
All of them.
They don't know where they're racing to, the destination.
And they figure it was because they were blind drunk.
Yeah.
But
because they're celebrating because the month advance.
It's month advance, which is what happened back then. Sailors especially, they'd get paid and they'd blow all their money on hookers and alcohol.
But there's the one
very famous for it even today.
The one sailor, Wade,
who didn't drink.
He swore off alcohol. So even though he wasn't drinking,
he still doesn't remember.
And he doesn't drink the brandy that they distribute to the crew.
Rum.
Yeah, the rum. And then you hear the bell ringing. They go, oh, we got to go mast. We got to go up to the dock, the deck. And everyone's rushing out. And this Wade guy who doesn't drink, he's kind of taken Turlo under his wing as the new ship.
He advises him not to drink the grog.
Yeah.
Not to drink the rum. Because the rum apparently is laced with something that allows you to accept what you're seeing the way you would want to see it, and it keeps you from getting sick. So it has a benefit as well as what could be a benefit, what could be hallucinatory.
I'm guessing it also causes the memory loss. So it probably restricts their memory of seeing the top deck and how they first came aboard the ship. Which
right,
is probably
things you
why
can't understand.
Yeah, I'm assuming it makes them hallucinate to just see things as normal.
We're kind of getting ahead of ourselves because
right. They're rushing to the deck.
Right. Turlo stays behind.
What does the bell mean? And he goes, "What? It's we got to go top deck." And Turlo doesn't want to go, so Wade comes back and he pulls his shoulder. He goes, "Come on!" Right. And they're rushing up the stairs.
But Turlo still stays behind.
I'm right behind you. And then
Turlo pulls out the little crystal. Help me, Guardian, help me! And the Guardian's just laughing. He's like, Yeah, you failed me. You've had many chances to kill the doctor. You keep failing me. You're going to die, Turlo. You're going to stay on the ship forever. Eternal torment here on the ship.
And Turlo, while he's talking to the Black Guardian, as every time before he was talking to Black Guardian, is surprised as someone comes up, which is the doctor this time. He goes, "Oh, Turlo, you didn't go top deck?" And he goes, "Huh."
No. So the doctor and Turlo end up being escorted to
the captain's quarters.
To the wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Where they meet Tegan, because she was escorted by the first mate, and they're in the wheelhouse, and
the first mate's name is Mariner, which is funny.
Right, because that means sailor.
Yeah.
But it's 2 R's in this, so Mariner. I mean, they took everything from Earth and all that, so Mr. Mariner.
And at this point, they mention that they're taking Turlo and the doctor to see the captain, whose name is Stryker, which was the name we saw in the chests that were tied down.
Right. So they get there, and apparently they're working on this race, and the doctor and Turlo go to a map that looks like the race map with buoys and stuff. Yeah. And
at this point, Tegan excuses herself as she's feeling very seasick. Yep. So first mate Mariner escorts her to her quarters, and then that's when Turlo and the doctor say, "These are more than buoys on the map, right?" Not yet.
No, they're all 3 in there in the deal, and she has yet to explain herself why she left the TARDIS, but the doctor is disappointed with her when he sees her.
Right, yeah.
So the 3 of them, the doctor, Turlo, and Tegan, are on deck in the wheelhouse, and the doctor and Turlo go look at the deal, and Turlo's like, "Oh, it's a race map, and these are buoys." And they're just like, "They're not just buoys." And he's like, "What?" And then the captain, Stryker, goes,
"Cretus, starboard bow," and it brings up a monitor, right?
Every time I hear Stryker, I just want to like an airplane.
So they bring up
the Captain Stryker goes, "I want to see our competition."
Yeah.
And so Mariner pulls up a computer monitor, this gorgeous looking monitor, like not like then, like more modern. Flat screens.
It's like integrated into like the wood panels of the ship and everything.
And there's electronics. He goes do one for each of the ships. And Tegan goes, "Wait a minute, electronics on an Edwardian ship? What is this?" And then a panel rises up, and you see these ships in space. And the doctor's like, "Yeah, we're not on a yacht, we're on a ship." Like a spaceship.
And then Rowan Atkinson.
End of episode 1.
No. Before that, Rowan Atkinson comes out and he goes, "It's a race. I'm winning. It's a space race." End of episode 1.
Good reference, but no.
Right. Race. Oh, wrong show.
Rowan Atkinson has never been in Doctor Who.
I mean, he played the Doctor in a skit.
He did play the Doctor in a Children in Need skit, where he was the Doctor, and it was awesome. The Curse of Fatal Death. But he's never actually been in Doctor Who proper. Yeah, I mean, that was just a Children in Need sketch.
But he's great. I think he's pretty much retired. He started saying he's retiring his characters, like he's no longer portraying Mr. Bean. He said maybe if it's like for charity or something, but he's not doing any more Mr. Bean movies.
Right. Well, a lot of people will come out and do stuff for charity.
Yeah. You know? He said he's done with like the Johnny English characters.
Wait. Blackadder?
I don't know if he talked about that, but I think he's just kind of generally gearing towards retirement and kind of hanging up the.
Well, that's what Sylvester Stallone's doing. He's going back and doing one movie with his characters. You know, like. Rocky Balboa and then Creed, and he did like the one named after his Rambo whatever, and he's kind of hanging it up each one character at a time.
I don't think Rowan Atkinson's doing that.
No,
I think he's just saying.
I would love to see a little more Blackadder, and I would love to see one more Johnny English, but I can understand.
He's not even that old though. I feel like this is an early retirement for like an actor of that magnitude.
Maybe. I mean,
because look at other famous British actors, like they're just acting their whole lives. It's their passion.
Well, I mean, eventually some people retire, like the Sean Connery hung it up after League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, with the exception of a couple of really, really bad animated movies, but they were done completely in Scotland.
He started having some health issues.
Correct, but it was mostly because of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh, I thought it was because of
the kids. It was partly, but he had turned down some amazing roles. Mm-hmm. He could have been the King of Rohan.
He said
the Riders of Rohan in Lord of the Rings. Yeah, and he turned it down.
Instead, he said, "No, I only do bad movies. If I'm gonna do any movies, they're gonna be awful." So.
And he turned down The Architect and The Matrix.
He turned down all the good roles.
Yeah, well, he didn't understand them, but he accepted roles fantasy. Like what was it, the British one with Peel.
Peel?
What? The Avengers. He turned down the Avengers. He accepted the Avengers movie, which was really bad.
Oh, he accepted. He was in Guardians of the Galaxy as one of those mercenary people, space mercenaries. Sylvester. Are we talking about Sylvester Stallone?
Sean Connery.
Oh, Sean Connery was offered
Sean Connery was offered the King of Rohan in Lord of the Rings and turned it down.
But what about the Avengers?
He was in the Avengers, the movie based on the British TV show. Not Marvel's Avengers, the Avengers, and it was horrible. And then he was in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which was horrible, and that's when he hung up his hat because he turned down being in the Matrix movies, the second and third one, playing the Architect. Because he didn't understand these things, and the end of his career was just garbage.
You know? Yeah, he took the role of the Time Bandits, which
that was much earlier on, and that was fantastic. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it was where you take the Time Bandits, but not the Matrix. It seems kind of
Time Bandits was more understandable.
The same genre, I guess. So yeah.
No, Time Bandits is a bit more fantasy.
It's more of a periodic piece. Yeah, it's a sci-fi fantasy.
No, Matrix was infinitely more just sci-fi.
Yeah.
And convoluted.
Yeah.
I mean,
the Keymaster, I imagine if you're reading that script, you're like, what? Who's the Keymaster? What does he do?
You're reading through the Matrix, and I mean, even the audience got to the point where they got to the Architect talking, and the audience didn't have a friggin' clue what he was talking about.
But that wasn't until like the second movie, though, right?
Well, that's where the Architect shows up. It's the second movie.
The first
I can see Sean Connery reading through that, going, "What the hell?"
Yeah, the first movie was the only one people understood.
It's the only one worth understanding.
Second one got a little foggy. Third one was completely off the rails.
Fourth one was just horrible crap. It was bad.
That was just a cash in. Was the fourth
cash grab? Yeah. All right, anyway, so
episode 2. It's a space race.
It's a space race. We're on ships. You have a Greek, doing the Greek ship. I forget what they call him.
Cretus.
Cretus, but I forget what they call that ship. There used to be a specific name for that ship.
The Greek ship. And then we have Captain. Was it? We had the Buccaneer, which was a ship.
Captain Wrath.
But Captain Rack.
Rack. That's right. Not Wrath. Rack. And they are Spanish. Captain Rack, and they are Spanish. No. Buccaneers, pirates. From the days of that, and then there's a ship they're on, which is an Edwardian yachting ship, and it's from about 110 years ago.
There's also Davy's ship, which just looks like.
I'm assuming Davy Jones.
Yeah, like
I'm assuming it's another pirate ship. An English pirate ship. But we don't have a lot of detail about that because they died pretty early.
It explodes. Yeah. Spoiler.
And then the first one to go was Cletus. Pardon me.
They thought he crashed into Venus.
The Greek.
But he actually.
What was his name?
Cretus.
Cretus,
the captain.
I think I said Cletus, but
Cletus. That's what I play soccer in.
Yeah. Cletus. All right. So anyway, so you find out it's a space yachting race, and you also find out that
They are not human.
They're not human. They're eternals.
And they refer to people that dwell in time as ephemerals.
Right.
And they say it's the... Is it this point where the dialogue's...
We're almost there if we're not there. So these people are eternals. They live outside of time. Not to be confused with the Marvel Eternals. They live outside of time. And they apparently can come into existence under certain requirements. And when they die, because they can't die, they just get transferred back to eternity, back to the grayness of eternity.
Endless waste of eternity, as Captain Stryker calls it.
They have burnt out minds because they've lived so long. Mm-hmm. They can read ephemerals' minds, beings that live and die over short periods, whatever. They can read our minds, and they get all their knowledge, all their ideas, all of their emotions and everything from the minds that they read, because they can no longer produce that themselves.
They've existed so long, they've kind of lost the ability of independent thought and ingenuity.
And emotion.
Yeah, because of their eternal lifespan. So that's why they abduct people that live in time as ephemerals onto their crew and kind of brainwash them, like with the brandy.
Well, right, but we also think there's probably other cases where they do it for other things, not necessarily as crews, but maybe as using them to compete in wars, like in the war games and stuff like that.
We both get explained that they're doing the space race because it's their only entertainment being, but they also say they're competing for a prize, and the Doctor says, what prize? And Stryker says, Enlightenment. And we don't really know what that means yet, but they're competing for something.
He says Enlightenment gives you the wisdom and the knowledge to do anything you want. And the Doctor goes, well, what do you want to do? And he says, even before he can ask, he goes, I'm not telling you why I want it.
I don't remember that part.
Yeah. He goes, because Enlightenment gives you the ability to gain anything you want. And the Doctor is just about to ask, well, what do you want? He says, I'm not going to tell you, Doctor, what I want, because I read the Doctor's mind.
I remember that line because I thought it was going somewhere where it didn't. I thought it'd be funny if he says, the prize is Enlightenment. The Doctor says, what do you want with Enlightenment? And I thought Stryker was going to say, I don't know, I haven't reached Enlightenment yet. I don't know what I want.
It's kind of akin, I believe, to the prize at the end of Highlander.
Yeah, there may only be one.
Well, not only that, but if he concentrates, he can hear what people are thinking all over the world, and he knows things and all that.
That sounds miserable. I thought it would be more like the prize from Borderlands, where they're trying to open the vault for treasures, but when they open the vault, there's just this giant monstrosity of a creature inside.
Okay. At first, when I saw this years ago, I thought that it would be death. If you're eternal, you're bored to death.
Release.
I get to die. I get to cease existing. You know.
But is there life after death? Isn't there still an eternity then?
Is there life after love?
It's better to the love. Have you ever heard the phrase "standing still in time"? We'll get to that in episode 3.
We'll get to that. All right. So anyway, the race continues, and
they start to round the planet, right?
Right. The Doctor notices that this is the Earth's solar system, Sol, S-O-L, and the first planet they're going to round is Venus. So
you know what Sol stands for? S-O-L. Shit out of luck.
Yes.
All of the solar system.
No, not the sun, Sol.
We're S-O-L, man. The whole solar system. Right. Like, what do we call this one? SOL. There's no hope.
I think it's from Latin. I'm not sure exactly what it means, but yeah.
I mean, I do know what SOL means.
Well, no, Sol, not S-O-L. Alright, so anyway, there's 4 ships, and they're all in this race, and they're doing it because they're bored out of their minds, and they have been for eternity.
I like to make that same joke about point-of-sale systems.
POS,
Their POS, yeah, so I'll say, do you know what POS stands for? And they go, point of sale? And I go, no, piece of shit.
Alright, so...
Because they're always breaking.
Yeah. So you find out that the Eternals.
It's a very retail joke.
Don't care about ephemerals. They literally don't care because their lives are so short.
Yeah, so
that they're gone in an instant, you know. Like,
did you talk about how they're rounding Venus?
Well, I was just about to when you started telling jokes.
Oh, well, that's what brings it.
Okay.
So they're rounding Venus. They pull a really tight maneuver. They literally like scrape the surface of the planet without getting
the
gravitational pull, and they round it. And then here comes Cretus and his boat behind it, and he's broadside the Buccaneer with Captain Rack. And then you see Cretus's ship explode. Previously on the monitor, when they brought up the other captains, they had a video feed of Cretus, and he was wearing this Spanish conquistador red jeweled ring. And
all the rest of it was pure Greek.
Purely accurate. And the doctor goes,
that's not period. That's
everything is totally accurate. You've got it perfect except for one piece, is that ring. And he goes, yeah, that was a gift. Cretus
must
likes
have been a gift from the Buccaneer.
Yeah.
And then the ship explodes, and they
go, oh no,
must have gotten too close to gravity. And I was like, really?
Yeah. And then this is when Tegan actually says she's seasick, right? And she leaves.
She's feeling sick.
She's being escorted by the first mate. And she goes, it's horrible, all those people died. He goes, oh no, they're simply transferred back. And she goes, you're not talking about the ephemerals, are you? And he goes, well, they have such short lives anyway.
This is when you find out how little they think of us, because he's like, we treat them well. They're treated really well, and they're gonna die anyway really soon.
Yeah, when they first walk into the wheelhouse, they're reading their minds, and Stryker goes, you're a Time Lord. And the doctor goes, you can read my mind? And Stryker goes, I didn't know they had lords over such quaint small domains. Speaking of time,
it's about our universe.
Because he's talking about the entire fourth dimension, I think. Of anyone that dwells within time, he goes, I didn't know they had lords over such a small domain.
It's very, very patronizing.
Because apparently eternity is an endless waste, which I thought space was too, but maybe not.
Not as bad as eternity.
It's not. Well, maybe time isn't endless, is what he alludes to.
So, anyway, the Greek dies, and Captain Stryker believes he was the only one that could have really competed with him, and so their heads.
He's really wrong about that.
True. Anyway, they barely take off their hats to mourn the loss of the ship, and then.
He says
the ships are replicated. The actions of the crew are replicated perfectly to Earth norms for their time period in terms of everything they do.
Except they also need spacesuits.
Well, they don't need them. They're just protective.
Yeah.
Because there is that bubble around it, right? It
And
keeps in the atmosphere. But they do it just in case.
Yeah, the very small oxygen supply.
Right. So, anyway, Stryker's like, well, yeah, of course we keep everything the same. So, because that's the spirit of the race. It wouldn't be worth it otherwise.
Yeah.
But he's like, so you have people hoisting sails on a ship and doing things on a ship you would do on a ship at sea, but they're in space.
The competition through reenactment is like they're just a source of entertainment. It's like a Renaissance festival or like a Civil War reenactment.
Yeah.
They're putting on the costumes and they're just having a fun race.
Except the humans believe they are where they are.
Because they took them from that accurate period of time and abducted them as ephemerals.
And they're feeding them hallucinogenics to make them believe.
The brandy. Speaking of, Tegan's back in her cabin with the first mate Mariner. Mariner offers her a brandy drink. It says, this will settle your stomach. Rum. And
brandy is distilled wine. Rum is a fine spirit.
I just thought it was... Oh, yeah, you're right. Rum. So he offers her the rum drink. He says, this will settle your stomach. And she's very untrusting. Has been the whole time. So he goes, look, it's safe. And he sips on it.
Yeah, she says, drink it if you must. And so he sips it. And
she's like, you have it. And he goes, it's perfectly safe.
The makeup in this scene is pretty good. She actually looks a bit green on screen, like you would when you're feeling ill from seasickness.
Why is that?
I don't know the medical reason.
Me either.
But I've seen people do it, and I've done it.
I feel like your face is a stop sign. Like it turns red, turns green to let you know what's about to happen. Because you're about to puke. Your liver's not working. Yellow light.
No.
Green
Your
light.
stomach's detected things it doesn't like. You know, E. coli. Get rid of that. You ate raw horse meat. Puke, okay?
I hear they eat raw beef in Europe sometimes.
Yeah, be a tartar.
Tartar, yeah. There's raw beef and like a little bit of pepper on top.
I've had it really rare, but
which is
not
interesting
raw.
because didn't mad cow disease come from Europe?
Yes.
It seems like a strange cultural choice to continue eating raw cow meat.
Well,
after the
fewer
mad
people
cows.
do it these days. But there was a board game, and it said
Pandemic?
no, a different one. It said Europe still has from World War II hundreds of thousands of landmines.
Mm-hmm.
They also have mad cows. 2 problems solved. And the whole point of the game was to run the mad cows through the landmine area, then blow up the landmines and the mad cows.
This was a video game?
A board game.
A board game. That's quite a dark board game.
Yes.
What was it called?
I don't remember, but it was by Cheap Ass Games.
We should play that board game.
If you can find it at this point.
Does Cheap Ass Games still have a website?
They still make a couple of games, but they're not as cheap anymore, and this was like 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And they're down to just a couple of titles, to the best of my knowledge. Anyway, so
Tegan eventually concedes that she'll drink the rum.
she drinks it.
Or the brandy.
The rum.
Oh, or the rum.
And she goes to sleep. She rolls right over like she's roofied, and she goes to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, Turlo finds her.
Mm-hmm.
She feels better. She feels great. So there's some good medicinal stuff in it.
He sneaks out, right? And then he
doesn't
tries
sneak out. He's going to sneak out. The captain's like, you don't have to whisper. We can read your minds here.
Right.
Go find your friend.
Mm-hmm.
You are guests, not prisoners.
Mm-hmm. So he's kind of looking up the stairs towards the deck, and that's when he runs into Mariner. And Mariner reads his mind as he goes, "You're looking for your friend. There's no need to sneak around. I'll show you to her." And he takes her to Tegan's cabin.
Mm-hmm.
And he walks in and he sees her passed out. He's very concerned. He goes, "Tegan." And she wakes up. She goes,
And he takes the glass near there and goes,
That's good stuff.
He's smelling it and he's kind of checking it out, making sure it's okay.
At what point does he run into Folly and get the key? That's before he runs into Mariner and he leads her to the...
Late episode 2, early episode 3 or something?
So they
No.
came out.
Mid episode 2.
Yeah, it says on his way back because Tegan noticed the wetsuits and she goes, "There's wetsuits, like we're in a submarine." Later we realized there's spacesuits. So on the way, Turlo on the way to check on Tegan, he also spots these wetsuits or spacesuits that Tegan was telling him about. Mm-hmm. And it's at that point that Folly is running down the hallway and he runs into Turlo, and Folly just got back from the deck who didn't accept his surroundings because he doesn't drink the rum. So he goes, "It's the rum, it's brainwashing him." And
it may be in the water too.
Yeah. And he passes him the key and he goes, "It's in the brandy. I think it's the brandy. You have to throw it over the rum. You have to throw it overboard." And he gives him the key and then he walks off. And at that point, he's kind of, trailing around, looking up the stairs, and he runs into Mariner, who takes him to Tegan's cabin.
So eventually, Tegan, get yourself another one.
There's a Mercedes commercial where they have this supermodel, and she's kind of doing the Van White modeling it, and she'll rub it, and she goes, "Mercedes." No, Bentley is Bentley. She rubs the crest on the hood, and she goes, "Bentley," and she shows you the interior and rubs the steering wheel, and she goes, "Bentley." So this guy kind of spliced that commercial with his own footage, and she goes, "Bentley," and then it cuts to the guy and he strokes his car and he goes, "Shitbox."
Shitbox?
Yeah. And she turns it on and it turns on real smooth and it's tuned and it goes, And she goes, Bentley. And it cuts to the other guy and goes, he goes, shitbox.
Oh my gosh. I haven't seen that yet, but
that's a good one.
Yeah. Alright. So anyway, the main ship, the Edwardian yacht or whatever, is out well ahead of the other two. There's only two now. The Greek one is blown up, and they're going through, and the Doctor and Turlo are caught. The Doctor thinks of the TARDIS. The TARDIS gets snagged, and the Doctor and Turlo are in the wheelhouse, and the first mate, Mariner, has already convinced Tegan to put on one of the spacesuits and to go up on the deck with him. And she's like, I'm not doing it. He's like, the sooner you go up there and see all this, the sooner you can be with your friends. So she's like, okay. So she goes up on the main deck with him, aloft, and they're in these spacesuits out on the ship's deck, and there's just stars all around them because it's in the eternity of space. And he looks at me and goes, it's okay. You can breathe here. And he opens up his helmet. And then he opens up her helmet. She's angry. She's like, you like to shock people. He says, well, these suits are just a precaution because there's this energy field keeping the atmosphere all around the ship.
Episode 4?
No, we're still on episode 2.
Oh, I'll come back.
Wait, where's your White Claw?
I've reached my limit for the hour. I gotta...
Of White Claws?
Yeah, I gotta drive home at some point.
And you were so much better at that than you were the first episode.
Or the second. Or the third.
Yeah, you got better around episode, well, after 50, because we were both wasted for 50.
I've stayed over at least 3 or 4 times, because...
And that's fine.
I had a little...
But you know when not to drive, that's good. So anyway...
You do the math. You do boop, 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 boop.
Yeah, when you get too drunk, you can't do the math. And then you know you're staying regardless.
Remember when we did the math on the whiteboard? I'm writing out the formula for blood alcohol level and ounces of alcohol consumed divided by time. I guess.
So anyway, Mariner, the first mate, is talking to Tegan like he's in love with her. Mm-hmm. You're fascinating. There are so many niches in your mind. It's so weird. Okay, if you notice, everyone on every ship, except the Eternals, are all male. They took all male crews, which was the norm back in each of those time periods.
I think all the Eternals are male too.
Except Rack. Rack is female.
I think Rack's a male.
No, there was a male with a large bosom. Alright, and very feminine features. Okay, so with the exception of the Eternals, every person on all the crews are male. That was the norm for the times. Not as much now, but back then. And he's reading her mind, and I guess he hadn't read a female mind, at least in this stop in our universe.
You notice how Rack is the only Eternal that's female? Mm-hmm. I think that is done intentionally from like a writer's perspective. So you have all these, what I think it is, here's my theory is, Eternals, they're not humans, they're not male or female. I think they assume the form of a human. As they abduct, the human crew, they take a form of a human to kind of fit in with the crew. Because they're, well, we don't know, eternal voids.
We don't know if they have genders or not as Eternals. We just... it's an assumption they do, it's an assumption they don't. Right. But all we know is the genders they have here, which is 3 men and 1 woman. Woman.
Yeah, all the crewmates are male, all the captains are male. Yeah. Save for one, which is Captain Rack, mm-hmm. which brings us to the conclusion that this captain is made unique for some reason.
Well, she's fairly evil and malicious. Yeah. There's also, but she's not the only one personality.
She's unique, though.
Her first mate Also his personality.
He's pretty stoic. She
Well,
goes,
no.
full board ahead, and he's...
No, it's her. No, her first mate, the black guy.
Yeah, his face when,
right.
she's
But
like, full speed ahead, and he's staring at the wheel like this.
He's country. But there are other times when he shows personality much more than any of the other Eternals except her.
A little bit. I thought he was a bit
stale.
No.
The only other Eternals are like, He's actually like, oh yeah, taste the food. You'll meet your friends soon, you know? He actually shows a bit of verve.
So Rack and her crew are different from the other Eternals. Or at least different from Stryker.
Okay.
From the perspective that we've seen.
It's episode 3. We are still in episode 2.
Oh.
Okay, so... give me a second, you're jumping in. So anyway, the Captain Stryker is like, okay, you need to go up, and he's telling this to Turlo and the Doctor. You need to go up and take a look at this. We have some things we want to show you, and your friend's up there. And Turlo's like, I don't want to go up because you heard the other guy scream. I don't want to. It's bad. It's horrible. And then Turlo, horribly and cowardly, turns, goes, I will tell you about the crew. There's a mutiny. They want to throw over the rum, and I've got the key. And he goes, it's so bad that he would turn in somebody else for his own skin. But then the Doctor looks at him. It's like, what the heck are you doing? And Captain Stryker goes, we already know about him and his mutiny and all this stuff.
You mean to say Folly gave you the key to throw over
the rum, and we already know all about this. But so
he's like, you're not going to do anything to him, are you? And he goes, we're going to be entertained by him.
We're not going to punish him for entertaining us, because that was entertaining. And that's all they want is entertainment from us ephemerals. And the Doctor's looking at Turlo like, just aghast. Like how the hell
totally threw that guy
under the bus.
Yeah. Save his own skin.
And Turlo has the lamest excuse ever. But he looks at the Doctor and goes, well, they already knew. I didn't expose them because they already knew. The Doctor's like, I don't like it. He doesn't say this, but the look on his face is, you are technically correct, but what you did was still wrong.
So I like the part where the crewmates, they drank the rum so they can be kind of drugged out and accept their reality as normal. Except for Folly. He doesn't drink the rum.
Right, because he made that pledge.
Right, and he's the last one to go up the stairs.
And
Turlo pretends to follow him, and you hear the scream, and he's screaming because he sees space, and he's not accepting that reality because he hasn't had the rum. And I think they kind of they wipe his memory every day because he doesn't remember. I think he's screaming every time he goes.
That may be the case, yeah.
He goes, who's that screaming? And the second mate, not the first mate, the other guy, the captain's uniform guy, he goes, some crew members adjust a little differently than others, but they...
Especially the new ones, yeah.
Especially the new ones.
There was a big prohibition movement, back 100 years ago, or 110 years ago, and it's right about that Edwardian time, and some people signed it, and they eventually here, prohibited alcohol. It didn't work or last long,
Yeah.
But anyway, so, thank goodness for that. Alright.
I think it worked to the extent of
it just made the mob get into alcohol because it drove it underground. It criminalized, and it just made the mob very powerful.
There's this weird time in American history where there's this
prohibition,
cultural divide where the housewives were like, we hate that societarily men are coping with the economy, everything with alcohol, and the women said we don't want our husbands to drink anymore. And there's that one lady that walked around with a hatchet.
Yes.
And there's this kind of cultural divide, but eventually the freedom-loving Americans who also want the freedom to drink alcohol kind of won over because the government realized we can't make anything illegal. It doesn't work with alcohol, doesn't work with guns.
It was a combination of the libertarian-esque
drugs.
Libertarian-esque people should be able to drink, we're in a Great Depression and we need the taxes and the economy that brings, and we want to stop the mob who've gotten so powerful off alcohol sales. It was a combination of all those things. The whole freedom part is a little idealistic. There were other parts too, but it's all a big
I mean, the government realized we can't make guns illegal, so we'll make them regulated. We can't make alcohol illegal, so we'll make it regulated.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're getting to that point with drugs. They're realizing we can't make drugs illegal, so we'll make them regulated.
For the soft stuff,
yeah.
For the soft stuff, like pot.
Yeah.
You know?
But the government just doesn't like to admit that they don't have the power to enforce that. That is kind of laws.
No government likes that, yeah.
They can't take away the guns. They can't take away the alcohol. They can't even take away the drugs.
It
just goes to the black market.
Yes. So the Doctor and Turlo, after Turlo tried to turn in the other guy, get in their spacesuits reluctantly, and they go up to the deck, atop.
Gosh,
and there is the first mate Mariner, and he's talking, as I've already mentioned.
He's opened his mask.
I've already gone over that, yeah. And with Tegan. And
has her mask open too.
There's Doctor and Turlo. And Turlo's there, and he hears the Black Guardian. You will die on this ship. You will die. You will suffer for eternity, and you will die. And Turlo flips the heck out. He goes, no, I will not serve you any longer. I will not serve you. He goes and he runs to the what's it called?
The banister, the safe rail.
Not a banister, safe rail or whatever.
The guardrail.
The guardrail. And he goes up to it. He climbs onto it, and he thrusts himself out into space to die. I will no longer
serve you. And the Doctor seems remarkably very unconcerned at first. He goes, don't do anything foolish, Turlo. And Turlo's obviously just in this state of mind.
It's a Willy Wonka moment. Wait, don't stop.
Yeah. And then he stands up on the safety rail, and that's when the Doctor realizes, oh, he's actually going to jump. And he goes, no!
So, anyway, end of episode 2. Boom. Episode 1 ends on a revelation, which usually you get a revelation or somebody's going to die moment, a cliffhanger. Well, almost always.
Almost. And it's usually...
Every once in a long while there's something weird, like the... I guess it's a revelation with the Doctor playing train with the Daleks, the second Doctor.
Oh yeah, because they're childlike.
Right, but I guess it's a revelation. Yeah. So you either have a revelation, like maybe 20% of the time, or a cliffhanger 80% of the time.
Because it's the cliffhangers that get the people tuning back in to watch the next episode.
So, anyway, cliffhanger, Turlo's out in space about to die.
Yeah.
Episode 3.
Slowly drifting off.
Yeah, the Doctor's like, man overboard, man overboard. So they're about to throw out a life preserver to him. And they realize it's not tied in. So they have to tie it in.
They weren't expecting to use it, I guess.
Well, yeah, they weren't expecting to use it.
It's not tied in the line.
It's too short. Although by this point, Turlo's realized he's a dumbass, and he starts trying to swim in space back to the life preserver.
Yeah. And Tegan's like, "We gotta save him," and Mariner's like, "Oh, don't worry, it'll be quick. He doesn't have much oxygen."
Yeah. We wouldn't stop the race for an ephemeral.
He's like, "Don't worry about it.
Don't worry. He won't suffer long. He doesn't have much oxygen." It's like, oh my god. Okay. In the meantime, the Buccaneer ship pulls up next to Turlo, kind of like slows itself down in the race. This is Rack, Captain Rack, and puts out a net and picks up Turlo. Turlo's safe on the Buccaneer, and
they're very surprised by this.
Yes. Captain Stryker and Mariner, first mate Mariner, are like, wow, this is not normal for her. She doesn't normally do those kind of things. In the meantime...
Which is dumb, because she's already given out 2 gifts to other racers.
Right. Well, no, not yet.
But she already gave the ring to Cretus, which Stryker knew because he said it was a gift.
Right.
And then also...
No, not yet. They take Turlo, throw him in front of Captain Rack, At the same time, Captain Rack pulls out the sword, the cutlass, swings it above his head. Turlo ducks. Then she puts the cutlass back in the scabbard and goes, "Yes,
Perfectly
it's
balanced.
fine, perfectly balanced,
As all things should be."
and it's got the gem on the hilt."
She adjusts the infinity stone in her gauntlet.
Yeah.
So she goes perfectly balanced.
It's got that on the hilt. And that's when she says, "Give this to Davy with my
Jones?
compliments." Right, yeah, I think it's another pirate ship, Davy Jones. But that's when that goes over there, after Turlo is picked up and captured.
Right. But, yes.
Okay,
So
you had
Davy
it
thinks
almost there, but just slightly out of order.
Stryker thinks it's odd that they would slow down to pick up an overboard crew member, but he should know better because they don't really have the ability to think abstract and creatively like humans do. That's why. So he doesn't really draw the correlation to Rack is very conniving, which is unlike Eternals, but we find out why later.
Yeah. So anyway, they get Turlo on the ship. Turlo goes all super lickspittle, and he's like, "No, I wanted to come here because I want to learn the source of your power. I want to learn why you're an Eternal and your power, and I want to share in the prize with you."
Yeah. At this point, they have him clasped in chains.
Yeah,
and Rack comes out with
irons,
a dagger, and she's like, "Well,
And
you're
so-
interesting."
Yeah, you people come up with such glorious ways to torture each other. She's running a dagger along his chest and neck.
And he goes, "I can serve you. I want to help you gain this power, and maybe you share it. I want to know the source of your power." And she goes, "Okay, let's have an exercise of trust. You open your mind to me." And then she just kind of waves the dagger like that, and the chain just like breaks.
It's magical dagger or something. I don't know. Or maybe there was a rope holding the chains or something.
What I think is she's an Eternal, and they kind of have this certain amount of control over these ships they've conjured.
Possibly. Anyway.
So they're also very strong. Like, we've seen them grab Tegan and the Doctor, and they kind of can't escape the grasp. So these Eternals are these weird, sort of powerful...
I don't think they're supernaturally strong. I think they're just naturally strong.
Well, even the Doctor couldn't, like, get out
Davison
like,
is a little scrawny, and Tegan is very scrawny.
Yeah. I get the feeling that they're supernatural because she does that with the chain too, and like the links just go boop.
Metaphysically, they are supernatural, but physically, I think they're just natural.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, and he's like, "I want to learn the source of your power," and so she goes, "Okay, follow me." And the sword in the scabbard has already been accepted by Davy. She goes down to the bowels of the ship, and there's this room with this red door, 3 seal locks, and a force field. She turns on the force field, opens the locks, goes inside.
Big switch labeled vacuum shield. And
Yeah.
She goes from off to on.
She goes inside. She's in there for a bit. He's trying to get in to see, but the door's locked.
Right, he's about to follow her, and the door slams
and then
closed.
Davy's ship explodes.
Uh-huh.
And she was right alongside them. So now there's just the 2 ships, the Buccaneer and the Edwardian sailing yacht.
So there's only 4 ships total?
Yeah, there were only 4 ships to start with.
Oh.
So that's why there were 3 controls to look at our competitors in the first episode.
I thought there might have been a few more people just further back.
No, they're just showing the 4. So she comes out and, okay, she looks at him and says, "This is the source of the power. This is the source of my control." He's like, "Okay." And she goes away, and she sends a skiff to go to the Edwardian ship with Captain Stryker.
Space bubble dome on top of it.
Yeah. To send him an invitation to come to a party on her boat during the course of the race. And Stryker initially declines.
Yeah.
But the Doctor's like, "We have to go save Turlo." And
Tegan agrees.
Tegan agrees too. Tegan really, really wants to go.
Mariner goes, oh, looks like
so we should go because Mariner is enamored by Tegan.
Mm-hmm.
So they dress up, and she is in the most gorgeous outfit you will ever see her in.
Perms her hair and everything. Has a tiara.
It's a tiara. It looks like she's going on the Titanic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that. Well, that was Edwardian times. It was the Titanic. She's dressed to the nines. And she comes out and she goes, "What do you think, Doctor?" He goes, "Okay." And he walks off. So they go on.
They board the skiff thingy.
Yeah, and they go the other ship. In the meantime.
So if they're racing through space,
mm-hmm.
do they just stop to send the skiff across?
To be fair, she had pulled over to pick up a member of the crew of the Edwardian ship out of space.
Mm-hmm.
They may have stopped and called a momentary truce to the race.
They're the only two people in the race.
Well, not only that, but they lost a crew member. She picked up that crew member and she sent an invitation to come get him.
Yeah.
So as a result, that's a bit of a détente, you know.
Tete-a-tete. So they're alongside each other, and they're sending the rowboat across. So we're guessing that they kind of just pause there to send the
or they're moving at about the same speed.
They put it in neutral. It's on grandma mode. They're just kind of coasting.
Well, in space,
they send the boat over.
You have inertia. You're going to keep going that inertia. You know, you're only going to slow down incredibly slowly because there's nothing out there, hardly, to slow you down.
Yeah. But
anyway, so Tegan, the Doctor, and the first mate go over there, and they're having this fancy party. Once again, everyone is still male except Rack and Tegan,
mm-hmm.
Which is one of the reasons I still think the first mate, Mariner, is so enamored with her.
Yeah. And also why we think Rack is unique as
she just had villain. So much more personality than any of the other Eternals,
right? They're very
possibly her first mate,
and there's a reason for that.
Right. Keep talking. Episode 3. I'm gonna go use the restroom.
Mm-hmm. So, Rack approaches Tegan after they board the ship. They're in the ballroom, and Captain Rack goes to Tegan. She says, "I have something to show you. Come, please follow me." And she leads her into the captain's quarters. And Tegan goes, "What is it that you wanted to show me?" And Rack says, "Have you ever heard of a frozen in time?" And Tegan goes, "Oh yeah, it's a phrase. It means." And then Rack goes like this in front of her face, and she kind of freezes. And Rack goes, "It means exactly what it says." And then she goes and looks directly into the camera and dialogues for a bit about. I don't really know why. It's strange. It breaks that fourth wall. She's looking directly into the camera, and as she's dialoguing to herself, because at this point Tegan is the only other person in the room, and she's frozen in time. So Rack goes, "And you will be my key to winning the race." And then, boom, boom, cliffhanger, end of episode 3. So the start of episode 4, it picks up right where it left off. Rack is still staring into the camera. And then she goes over to, we're in the captain's quarters, so she goes over to her desk, I guess, and she pulls open a drawer, and there's just a ton of, like, red jewels in there, which all look exactly the same size. But despite that, she's still rifling through it looking for a specific one. So I think there's supposed to be like an assortment of different jewels, but they just kind of missed that part on the set dressing because they all look the same. But she's looking through them to find a specific one, and then she finds one specific one that looks exactly the same as all the others. And she goes, "Ah!" And she goes over, and it fits perfectly into Tegan's tiara. And it just sticks there. So I guess she put a little dab of super glue or something. And then once the little red jewel is in the tiara, she unfreezes Tegan, and Tegan finishes her sentence. She says, "Yeah, it's a common phrase that means, you know." And then Rack, she kind of, you know, wakes up from being frozen in time. She goes, "Oh yeah, it's a phrase that wait, why is it that we're in here? What did you want to show me? And Rat goes, oh, there's someone I wanted you to meet, but it looks like they're not in here. And Tegan goes, I'd like to go back now. And Rat goes, oh yeah, let's go rejoin your friends. So they walk back to the ballroom. They're having a party of sorts, right? And then they're reunited with Turlo. Turlo and the captain are kind of wandering off. So currently we have Turlo trapped in the vacuum room. The doctor kind of excuses himself and sneaks out of the party, and he's wandering off. This is when Tegan and Rack come back into the ballroom, and she are reunited. Well, so the reason the doctor goes off is because the doctor was with Mariner, and the doctor goes, "You can read minds. Where is Turlo?" Mariner goes, his mind's very faint, and then he goes, well, he's fearful, and the doctor says that should sharpen the image because it increases the emotions. And he goes, yes, he's in the poop deck or something. He's in the bowels of the ship, and he's still kind of, I can see him, but it's faded, which is strange. So that gives the doctor enough to go off searching for Turlo. And at this point, Tegan is led back into the ballroom with Captain Rack, and Mariner was real concerned because he's absolutely infatuated by Tegan. So he goes, oh, I was concerned about you. And she's like, you're concerned about me? And she's like, where's the doctor? And he says, well, the doctor went off to look for your friend Turlo. So then we cut to the doctor. He's below deck. He's searching for Turlo, and he sees the big obvious metal door that doesn't fit in with the rest of the ship with the vacuum switch. And he takes a good long look at it for like several minutes. He just kind of stands there. So it cuts to Turlo inside of the vacuum changer, to his perspective. And obviously they turned off the vacuum shield when Rack left him in there. So there's no more vacuum shields, so the vacuum of space is kind of pulling at the room. So the room is this kind of grate with like a hole in the middle in the shape of an eye. Hatter likes to call it the CBS eye logo. And at the top you also see another eye, but instead of like a grate pattern, it's solid and it has a big red iris in it with the CBS logo again. And Turlo, he feels like the suck from the vacuum of space now that the vacuum shield is turned off, and he is absolutely convinced he's going to die, and he's freaking out, and he pulls out the little gem that he uses to talk to the Black Guardian, and he's just screaming for help. He goes, help me, I'm gonna die. And then the Black Guardian's talking to him, and he's just taunting him. He goes, you failed me, you will now suffer, you will now die. And you finally see Turlo like give up on the Black Guardian, and then he goes, doctor, help me. And then the doctor does. The doctor turns back on the vacuum shield and opens the door. Though the way they edited it sure feels like the doctor took his time doing so. But the doctor walks into the vacuum room, and he goes, oh, Turlo. And there's a lot of tension. It feels very awkward. The doctor's very stoic and silent, and he doesn't say a lot because it's almost like he's disappointed, because Turlo just kind of basically tried to kill himself as he threw himself off the ship. So the doctor walks into the vacuum room after he turns the vacuum shield back on. He goes, hey, Turlo. And Turlo's just lying on the ground with the gem in his hand, and he goes, I was convinced I was going to die.
Hey, look what I found.
For me.
It was on the counter in the kitchen.
Oh, was it already open?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I don't believe you.
It was there. Do I lie?
Sometimes. No.
Okay. I was like, wait, what do you mean? Okay, where are we?
Double speed. So the doctor just rescued Turlo from the vacuum chamber after turning the vacuum shield back on. Right. Turlo is screaming to the Black Guardian. The Black Guardian's taunting him. He finally gives up and he goes, doctor, help me.
Yeah, he switches alliances essentially from the Black Guardian to the doctor.
Which apparently he's not very set on because he flip-flops a bit.
Well, Turlo, okay, you remember... you remember Adric kind of always like self-preservedly played the different sides all the time.
Yeah.
Adric did that. No, I'm with you. I'm with you with the master and stuff like that.
You get the sense...
Turlo's that to the nth degree, you know?
But Adric, it was either that he was, very gifted in math, but he's still like a 14-year-old, so he wasn't real wise. Mm-hmm. Or he was doing it specifically to double-cross them, to work for the doctor.
Right.
Whereas Turlo, he's only doing it for self-preservation.
Pure cowardice.
He'll flip-flop and double-cross as many times as he needs. So we're talking about how awkward it felt, because the last time the doctor saw Turlo was trying to kill himself. He threw himself overboard. Right. So the doctor walks into the vacuum chamber after turning the vacuum shield back on. Yeah. He goes, "Oh, hey, Turlo." And Turlo's just kind of lying there with the crystal in hand, and he just goes, "I was convinced I was going to die."
Yeah. So the doctor saves Turlo, but also points out about the eye up above.
The CBS logo with the big red eye. That's what we're talking about.
As well as the vacuum eye on a space below. And then the doctor's like, okay, we'll figure this out.
He goes,
they leave the chamber, and the doctor gets...
Did they not figure it out till later?
Well, no, they leave the chamber, and the doctor gets hit on the back of the head.
Yeah, immediately. He's brought to his knees, and then there's a sword brought to his throat, and then transition to the next scene.
End of episode 3.
Well, the end of episode 3 was Rack staring into the camera.
Oh, you're right.
And dialoguing right after she froze Tegan in time.
Oh, you're right. Okay,
so we're in episode 4 now.
We are in episode 4. Okay.
Yeah, alright, covered that part.
Episode 4. So,
he gets knocked to his knees, and there's a sword brought up to his throat before he can really finish his thought. And then they're brought back to see Captain Rack, right?
Right, and Captain Rack's like, aha, I will, you are a spy. And Turtle's like, I'm not a spy. He's the spy. Points to the doctor.
Again.
He's the spy.
I followed him in there.
Yeah, I followed him there. I was trying to subdue him for you.
So it's Captain Rack that invited him into the vacuum chamber, leaves and locks him in behind there and turns off the vacuum shield.
The first mate of that ship locked him in.
So he knows that Rack and her crew don't care about him, and they just tried to kill him. He was just saved by the doctor, and his first instinct is, if I betray the doctor, that will ensure my self-preservation.
You don't know if he's playing self-preservation or playing help the doctor, and we don't explicitly know.
Keeps him alive.
We don't explicitly know if he was locked in because he was in there, or if the first mate was just locking those doors.
Oh.
Because
I thought it
should have been locked.
Yeah.
We don't know. It's not okay.
I was really questioning Turlo's logic there.
You get the feeling there's 2 or 3 scenes specifically in this episode that are not there.
We're talking
edited
about
out
the editing
the time.
and the overlapping, and because of that, it felt like the doctor walked up to the vacuum door, and instead of opening it, he just kind of stands there for a while, and then it cuts to Turlo. And that conversation takes like 2 minutes before the doctor opens the door. It's just some like weird editing and pacing.
Right, the pacing is odd in episode 4 specifically. All right, so
could have been a cut scene or 2 in there.
Yeah, and
that transition.
Right, and there's a bit where Turlo decides that he is a servant of the same person that she's a servant of. The Black Guardian.
So he heard the voice.
Right, but you feel there's a scene in there where he would have properly realized it, right, which isn't there. It was edited out for time.
He just says it later once he betrays the doctor, supposedly.
Right. Again. So once again, the other episodes have pretty good pacing and editing. Episode 4 is a little dicey.
Even the end of episode 3 was kind of
8 minutes longer.
Was kind of weird. Because we had revelation, cliffhanger, and then just random dialogue from Captain Rack.
It's a bit of a cliffhanger. I would call it a cliffhanger. So anyway, episode 4, Turlo turns to the doctor.
It felt like it wasn't the planned cliffhanger for that episode, though. I feel like there's some weird editing there.
Right, once again, the pacing gets off about middle of episode 3.
They probably ran out of time. It's relegated now to a standard like 4 episodes. So it feels like sometimes they kind of have to squeeze it or stretch it out to meet those 4
episodes. With the occasional 2 episode at this point, like the Black Orchid or the King's Daemons, the next one. All right.
Which, by the way, don't forget to join us next week. where we're doing the season finale.
King's Demons.
And we're also going to vote on our favorite serial this season?
Yeah, absolutely, because it's only 2 episodes. Shouldn't take long.
Yeah.
All right, so the Doctor, Tegan, you talked about the
Juliet, that's when she first...
Tegan
end of episode
and the first mate, Mariner, gets sent back in the skiff to the other ship.
That's where we really question Turlough's motives. It's like,
exactly.
Did he get them off the ship to try and help the Doctor and Tegan, or does he know that ship's about to explode and he's just trying to save himself on this ship? So the Doctor kind of reaches the same conclusion that Turlough did. He goes, wait a minute. So there's the beam and the hole, and we're talking about how there must be a focus. And he goes, it must be like the size of a jewel or anything.
Well, it can't be larger. It doesn't need to be larger than this, although it was this size.
Yeah, it could be anything like a jeweled hilt, which is just so happens to be what you gave Davy.
Yep.
And then he goes, it could be like a gem that big, and then he goes, Tegan, did you come back on the ship with anything that you didn't?
Well, this is after they go back over the other ship.
Right.
Yeah. And she's like, no, because she was mesmerized at the time. She's like, no. So he goes, okay, you sure? No. And finally it's like, well, there was the tiara, there was a gem in it.
Yeah, he kind of doesn't take too long to dialogue. He just kind of rushes out.
Right, and they rush. They run around the corridors a few times.
And he's about to walk into her cabin, and then he stops.
Grabs an axe. And he destroys the gem, which is supposed to be the focus of the power that would destroy the ship from Rack.
And then he realizes that apparently it doesn't matter if it's shattered into pieces, it still works as a focus because it continues to
So she had gone down into the ion drive room, and she was doing the whole thing, and you heard the Black Guardian, and she's talking, and his voice is coming out, and she's doing the whole thing, and then as the Doctor breaks the gem into pieces, much like Evil Dead 2, she splits into all these pieces, and it rotates, and it's like a Bohemian Rhapsody video.
It's a very abstract scene. So after they send them back to Stryker's ship, it's just Turlough and Rack, and she goes, "You betray your friends so readily," and he goes, "I want to be with you. I want to know the source of your power." So this time she brings Turlough into the vacuum chamber with her, and ion chamber, and he sees her step onto the grate. And then the black beam, and you can just see her head. And then as the Doctor smashes the gem, you also see her face kind of separate, like the shards.
Fractalize.
Yeah.
And then the Doctor
still
goes...
focusing the energy.
But the pieces are glowing, and the Doctor's like, pulsating. I can't destroy it this way. Like, all I've done is multiply it. Yeah. So he grabs a handkerchief or a scarf, and he puts all the pieces in it. And he runs up to the top deck.
He's like, quickly!
And he throws it over.
He's like, quickly, help me!
And they're picking the pieces, yeah.
It's like, just grab the carpet and throw it over.
But you can't.
You're just like screaming.
So he throws it over the railing.
It was like literally a rug they could have rolled up and just...
But that's where they threw it over.
What if they didn't pick up every piece? Because some of the
pieces
really
explode a little bit, but it's okay, like Pop Rocks, So
I was just taking the whole rug.
So he throws it over the railing. It explodes in space. The ship is safe.
Yeah.
And then she gets out of her trance with the Black Guardian. So obviously, Black Guardian. And
where we make the connection that Turlough says that's the same voice that I follow.
Yeah.
You go, oh, this is why Rack seems
still
different.
Missing the scene where he figures that out, right?
But we get the revelation that, this is why Rack is different. She has more personality and cunning. It's because the Black Guardian is using her and kind of putting thoughts in her mind of, do this, destroy that
or
person.
Vice versa.
Yeah,
she's following the Black Guardian because
she wants enlightenment, right? And the Black Guardian is promising her enlightenment, and he's helping her win the race. And that's why she's so much more cunning and emotional than these other Eternals. They're just very kind of blink.
So the Doctor goes out in the wheelhouse. Turns out that the Buccaneer, with its Moonraker sails are pulling ahead now because they were pulling next to the Edwardian ship, which they're trying to blow it up.
And Captain Stryker says, to reiterate, I still think it's Cretus is the only one that can challenge us. And they go, with those Windbreaker sails, Captain Stryker, they're Moonraker sails, they're faster than us. And he goes, no, I still think it's Cretus that should be considered.
Who's dead? Alright, so the pirates are pulling ahead.
He's the only one that can.
And the Dark's like, she can't win. She can't win. If I'm going to stop her, I need my TARDIS. And then Stryker's like, well, it was in your mind. Just imagine your TARDIS.
Yeah, Stryker goes, if she can cheat, so can I. Oh. He's like, yeah, go ahead, use your TARDIS. He goes, well, where is it?
He's like, well, it's in your mind. And just concentrate on your TARDIS. And he concentrates on it and it appears.
So previously they mentioned how Eternals they have certain powers and can create matter from thought.
Mm-hmm.
But their own thoughts are kind of, blank over the endless years. So that's
correct.
Why they need these, what do they call them?
Ephemerals
for their thought. And that's how we imagine they create the ships, the spaceships, is from the human thoughts. And that's how the TARDIS then materializes, is when the Doctor focuses and thinking about it, and then you see the first mate Mariner go kind of focus with him, and then the TARDIS appears.
Kinda.
Which is weird.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of what the hell. So the Doctor goes to the TARDIS, he goes to the other ship, right outside the ion drive room.
Mm-hmm.
He goes into the ion drive room and gets caught.
Captain Rack is there.
Rack is there.
Because this power is...
Turlough's there, the first
you.
mate. Did we ever get his name?
Mariner?
Rack's first mate.
Oh, Rack's first mate.
Yeah, the kind of skinny black guy. The Buccaneer.
Wait. No, I don't think we ever got his name. Wait, oh, here it is.
He was a cool character. I like him.
Merity? I'm not sure I got his name.
Okay. Anyway, so they're in the room, and the first mate has a knife to the Doctor's throat, and it looks like they're going to toss him out, and then we see two bodies floating in the ether in space, and the ship, the Buccaneer ship pulls into the port with the Eternal City.
Yeah.
The City of Light.
Enlightenment.
And then apparently Captain Stryker's like, we've lost. She won. And Tegan's like, no, the Doctor and Turlough were dead. And she's all like sad and crying, and the first mate, Mariner, comes up and goes, the spark has gone out of your mind. All I see is gray.
Your thoughts have lost their colors.
It's grief. This is what grief is.
Yeah. He goes, I feel grief. You feel grief. What is grief? And then Stryker goes, well, let's go board. And Tegan's like, we have
to pay homage.
I thought you didn't trust Captain Rack. And he goes, well, she already won, so we have to pay homage. So here comes another little bubble rowboat coming over to the Buccaneer.
So the Buccaneer won.
To Doctor and Turlough. It wasn't them that got thrown overboard. It was Captain Rack and her first mate that got ejected.
The Doctor
somehow
killed, not murdered, justifiable. So killed.
It's never explained.
The two of them. It's never shown or explained. But
ejected them and didn't eject
he physically overcame them and ejected them into space.
Apparently, although I felt like they were stronger than the Doctor because previously.
Turlough helped, but
it's all off
They
camera.
were ejected into space, and
nothing is shown. We're just left to.
So the Doctor comes up. The Black Guardian and the White Guardian are sitting on two sides of a table, and they're like, "Okay, we must give this enlightenment." And it's a gem full of diamonds, and they pull the top off. And it shines like the stupid thing out of a briefcase in that Quentin Tarantino movie.
No Country for Old Men.
No.
Oh, you're thinking of Pulp Fiction, where they open the briefcase and it's like,
yeah.
And it never says what's in the briefcase.
Right. And they kind of cover their eyes, both of them, even the Light Guardian, and they're like, okay, this is Enlightenment, and we must give it to the winner. And up comes the Doctor and Turlo. Mm-hmm. Yay! You know.
And he goes, we pulled the ship into port.
And myself with some help, and he kind of gestures at Turlo. And
the Black Guardian's not happy with that, and the White Guardian goes, well, I guess Enlightenment's yours. And the Doctor goes up to the glowing orb and he goes, no, I'm not ready for it. No man should have utter enlightenment.
Exactly.
And then Turlo he says something, and the Black Guardian says something snotty, and the White Guardian goes, well, you can have a piece of enlightenment since you helped.
Well, in the meantime, Tegan has come up.
Tegan and the Mariner have come aboard also.
And the Eternals were like, no, we fade away. Can they get sent back? Yeah.
The White Guardian goes, well, you lost, bye-bye, or something, and they kind of just fade out. They go, no, back to our boring eternity.
There's Tegan,
it's just Tegan,
Turlo, and the Doctor. Mm-hmm. And the White Guardian's like, well, you assisted him. I can give you a piece of this. Yeah. And Turlo goes up and looks at it greedily and goes, it's a diamond.
It's a diamond.
A diamond the size you can buy a galaxy, you know? It's a diamond.
And the White Guardian's like, it's not. No, it's enlightenment.
And the Black Guardian's like, the Doctor owes you his life. He owes you a life debt.
Give me the Doctor.
Give me the Doctor. And the White Guardian's like, well, you can choose this and give it the Doctor, or hand over this and keep the Doctor. And the Doctor's just standing there, stoic.
Much like he was when he walked in on Turlo after he saved him from the vacuum chamber.
Yeah.
He's very stoic. He just kind of stands there and goes, well, Turlo?
We'll see.
What do you...
And Turlo looks at this, and he looks at all the wealth, and he thinks about it, but he also thinks about getting out of the contract of the Black Guardian. And he goes,
under control.
No! And he casts it aside.
You can have it, and he throws the Enlightenment to the Black Guardian.
And the Black Guardian goes up in flames.
Yeah. And then fades away. And the White Guardian's explanation is light destroys the darkness. Which
makes sense.
Why did he want enlightenment to begin with?
So Turlo actually in the end passed on enlightenment and passed on a galaxy to save the Doctor.
This was the Guardian's whole plan, was to help Rack win, and then Rack not really win, and try to get Turlo to give up the Doctor as a weird replacement bargain for the race for
the White Guardian and the Black Guardian.
They're having their own game.
No. You said the Guardian. We talking about the White Guardian.
The Black Guardian's entire plan was to try to get the Doctor, because the Doctor thwarted his attempts at getting the TARDIS so he could time travel.
No. In fact, the White Guardian moves around the table and goes, you have thwarted the Black Guardian twice. Once at getting the Key of Time, and the second time with this.
No, the Key of Time, not
the Key of Time.
Time travel.
No, Key of Time.
So he's after the Rassilon stuff.
No, there was the Key of Time. And the second time with this.
Yeah. What was the Key of Time for again? Why did he want it?
It was to reset the universe.
Why does the Black Guardian want that?
So he could reset the universe in his
eternal darkness?
Chaos, yeah.
Okay.
You don't remember that season?
I do. I don't remember why he wanted the Key of Time.
To control and reset the universe in his image. Chaos. Think of the devil. Alright, so you've now defeated him a second time. I'm sure he will come at you again a third time.
We finally get a good look. Yeah, he says there's surely going to be a third encounter. We finally get a good, solid, close-up look at the White Guardian, the real White Guardian, not the Black Guardian cosplaying as Colonel Sanders.
Yeah, not the Colonel Sanders. Yeah.
And they kind of have this yin-yang thing going on. They recast the Black Guardian. He's now this very deep-voiced...
The White Guardian?
No, the Black Guardian.
The Black Guardian.
Gravitas.
Amazing voice.
He has
amazing voice.
Raven or crow thing. hood,
yeah.
which kind of looks cool from a distance. But this, we got a close-up shot, and it's this really cheap, bug-eyed,
Well,
shiny
same with the
crow.
White Guardian. Has
And
a
the
kind
White
of a
Guardian
dove.
looks way worse. it's literally like googly eyes glued onto.
To be fair, the White Guardian's power is waning, and apparently the Black Guardian's power is still on the rise.
And that makes the White Guardian's costume look dumber, including his headpiece.
Apparently.
We don't know why the White Guardian's power is waning.
Apparently, in theory, the Black Guardian is gaining traction. Yeah.
And there's supposed to be this third encounter between the White and Black Guardian.
Well, between the Black Guardian and the Doctor.
And this has yet to happen.
It has yet to happen. Okay. Spoilers. The episode ends. Episode 4 ends. The serial ends. And to this date, as of today, we have yet to see the Black Guardian again. Although we might soon, because they're bringing back the Celestial Toymaker with Neil Patrick Harris. So
we'll see
maybe Russell Davies will bring back the Black Guardian.
Older characters' story arcs concluded.
Well, so older villain story.
Right. Or White Guardian's not a villain, but we might see the conclusion to his
Black
stories.
Guardian.
Though the White Guardian also.
Possibly.
He would probably show up if the Black Guardian shows up again.
Maybe.
Because it's within the White Guardian's interest to use people to restore his power, so there can be the perfect balance of light and dark. So after the White Guardian says, surely there will be a third encounter, Tegan, the Doctor, and Turlo are like, let's get out of here. And the Doctor goes, to where will we go this time? And Turlo goes, we're going to my planet this time, my home. I'm calling it. I call next, my planet. End of episode 4.
Yep.
Yeah, the Doctor goes, I guess.
Right, what questions do you have?
So, we kind of covered a few of them. It was a pretty straightforward episode. The parts that weren't straightforward were just weird, and there aren't really any questions you can ask to resolve the weirdness.
Okay.
So we talked about...
It's an odd serial.
We talked about the White Guardian having issues communicating to the TARDIS. This is because apparently his powers are waning, which we find out at the end of episode 4. And why does he need the Doctor's help? Probably also because his powers are waning.
Yeah.
They always seem to not be able to directly interact with each other, but they use kind of pawns and play this weird game of chess.
Well, and
the Black Guardian has Turlo, the White Guardian has the Doctor.
And it's like, what's his face? The Keeper of Traken. Fades in and he shows up, but he talks to the Doctor and fades out.
Star Traken.
Huh?
The Final Frontier.
No, the Keeper of Traken.
This is Traken. The Final Star Traken. The Final Frontier. So, we also talked about the spaceships, not sail ships. Time Lord, the Time Lords in such a small domain. We talked about that. We talked about the nature of ephemerals, creatures that reside in time. We talked about Tegan's gown, like on the Titanic.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
We
it's the best
talked
she's ever looked.
The CBSI and the ships exploding. Most of the questions I wrote down were answered in the same serial, so that I don't really have many questions. So so one of the most pressing questions was Turlo betrays the Doctor after the Doctor saved him. And the reason he betrayed the Doctor, who just saved him, is to gain the trust of Captain Wreck, who just tried to kill him.
And then to betray her.
Apparently.
Yeah. He's on all sides. He's on whatever side is best for him at the moment. But he finally, at the end, his contract with the Black Guardian is destroyed with what he did by giving up Enlightenment.
Yeah.
And the crystal he cast aside. So it looks as if he has changed allegiances from the Black Guardian or himself to the Doctor.
And apparently that's the gameplay that the White Guardian was counting on to cause a stalemate as Black Guardian's pawn betrays him. So the last question is about the third encounter. So I have to ask my standard question. Do we ever see the Black Guardian again?
Not as of yet.
Not yet. So
no.
We have no conclusion to the White and Black Guardians'
This is a long-running
battle.
show. Things come back. Like I said, the Celestial Toymaker is finally coming back after 60 years.
That makes sense because who was it? Hartnell? Troughton. Hartnell. That was Hartnell. Yeah. The toy. He mentioned at the end of it, it's going to take a long, long time after we've destroyed his domain for the Toymaker to
calibrate.
Yeah, reconstitutionalize himself or reconstruct his reality.
Same thing for the Black Guardian.
Yeah, because he has this own realm where he has apparently ultimate power over, but he likes games. That was all destroyed, and Hartnell said it's going to take him a long, long time to reconstitute his reality and his own body and everything. So I'm guessing that's just now happening in the Doctor Who timeline, and that's why.
So the same thing can happen with the Black Guardian.
Yes.
Yeah. So the Eternals are outside of time, outside of our universe, doing their own thing, and they occasionally come in and mess with us ephemerals.
Do the Eternals ever come back?
Not yet.
They're a huge faction calling
not yet.
all of space and time a small domain compared to
not yet
endless waste of eternity, and they have nothing to do with any other serials.
Right. So they're outside of time. They're eternal. The Black and White Guardians are inside of the universe. You okay?
Yeah.
We're down the wrong pipe.
That's going to be great for the audio.
And they're not eternal, but they're here, and they have yet to come back.
Sorry.
As of yet.
Yes.
Okay, so how many deaths do we have?
On screen, 2 crews. Not the Eternals, the captain and the first and second mate. Just the Ephemerals died.
Right.
The explosion, the 2 ships that exploded due to wrecks. So 2 crews.
And then the ones that faded at the end?
So they're not dead. They got transported. So the one that was walking the plank didn't have a spacesuit on as soon as he walked the plank, which was stepping out of his...
He was an Eternal.
Yeah, he was Eternal. And Eternals don't die. They get transferred back to eternity in the endless waste. So only the Ephemerals are able to die, and the Ephemerals that died were about 2 different ships.
2 crews. Assuming about 30 people.
Yeah, they're pretty small crews.
Right, and there were a couple of ships at the end where the crews faded out. We don't know if they died, if they were transported back. We don't know.
I'd like to assume
the 2 crews did die.
At the end of the race, they just sent them back. Yeah.
They're mostly off screen. All right. Anyway, next time, the King's Daemons.
The King's Daemons, 2 episodes, season finale.
Short.
Don't forget
to also
vote
in on this season's best serial,
which is exactly why you shouldn't forget to tune in next week.
Doctor Who news.
Doctor Who news. What's new?
Doctor Who news.
And Doctor Who news.
Okay, you remember the Underwater Menace?
The Underwater Menace? Yes. Is he coming back in the new stuff?
Okay, no. But you remember the Underwater Menace? It was
vaguely.
Troughton. 2 episodes and 2 done with serials with the pictures.
Right, the reconstructions.
They're animating the missing episodes.
Oh, great.
The Underwater Menace is the next serial to be animated. So we had the big animation deal. It ended when they went to Disney. And that's when they released season 2. Now they're going back and they're continuing the animation. There's a different deal by not Disney, somebody else, we don't know. And the first one is the Underwater Menace.
So the Underwater Menace is the aquatic version of the subterranean terrestrials. So they had an episode.
It's the Atlantis deal with the guy who was...
with the shiny makeup.
Yeah, the guy who was out of his friggin' mind.
Yeah, okay, I'm thinking of... Where were those creatures that were on the oil rig that they take the boat out to? And those were the aquatic version of
not the Macroterror.
Yeah, something like that.
Hold on.
The Macroterror was the crab, wasn't it?
Yeah, big crabs.
So there's this one serial...
Fury from the Deep.
Yes, there's this one serial where we had these subterranean species, and then they came back as an aquatic version of that same species, which was a lot of fun.
Okay. So that's in the 3rd Doctor.
Yeah, that's not what's getting animated. What's getting animated is the weird mermaid men.
Yes, the Underwater Menace.
Which we're very excited about, right?
Okay. So we've watched this and we reviewed it on the. But we'll do a catch up. We'll do a catch up and we'll do Heroes and Villains.
I'm not gonna do a catch up.
Then we're gonna do a catch up. We'll watch it probably, and we'll do a Heroes and Villains.
We'll watch a movie instead.
No, we'll do a catch up. And as they continue, looks like they're gonna continue to animate all of the old missing episodes, and this will continue on season 3. There's a lot to be still animated for season 3, and hopefully all the seasons will eventually be completed by the animation, and we'll get the Blu-ray box sets.
Yeah, because those reconstructions are rough sometimes.
They are.
The animations are very greatly appreciated.
But yes, I love, and I will continue to buy all of them just to help support the recompletion or reconstitution of the old Doctor Who.
And I am not going to do that. Because this guy's doing it for me.
There you go. Alright. Anything else?
I think that's pretty much wrapped it up. Put a bow on it. We'll see you next week.
Yes.
Again, don't forget to tune in for the season finale and as we vote on our serial favorite of the season.
The King's Demons. And this is the end of season 20.
Season 20. Until next time.
Wait, 20 or 19?
20? 1983?
No, the end of season 20.
End of season 20. So tune in for the season finale. Until then, hit them with the outro, Hatter.
Da 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 da.